This video contains spoilers for the first 2 episodes of Fate the Winx Saga and references to the language used in those episodes. Hello YouTube! So yesterday, at the time of filming this, all of the 6 episodes of Fate the Winx Saga were released on Netflix for public viewing. And I don't know how some of you have already managed to watch all of them. I watched the first 2 episodes and I realized that I really need to be reviewing this series in batches if I want to review it properly. Because one, I don't want these videos to be like hour and a half long. I want you to have these comfortable viewing experiences of 20, maybe 30 minutes. Secondly, I also wanted to give my impressions of the first few episodes without them being influenced by what I know will happen, because I have a feeling that some of the things that really bother me in the first few episodes are gonna be different in the future. So I really just wanted to give my initial impressions of those few episodes without knowing what's coming next, and then later, if you're interested, give my impressions of the following episodes. So this is the review of episodes 1 and 2, and if you like this video, then I'm gonna be making either a video on episodes 3 and 4 and then on 5 and 6, or if I don't have enough ideas on episodes 3 and 4, then I'm just gonna be reviewing all of the remaining episodes of the series in one video. But if I'm gonna be doing that, I need to know that you guys like this video. So if you have enjoyed this video, if by the end of it you really want to see more, then please leave a like and leave comments down below and let me know that you have enjoyed this content. So in this video, I'm not going to be going through all the plot points of the series, because I tried doing that in an earlier draft of this video and it was just going to be too long. I'm going to be talking about the points that interest me. I'm going to be talking about character relationships and characters in themselves, and I'm going to be comparing some points to the original Winx Club series, and then later I'm going to be talking about whether or not this series holds up on its own without the comparison element. So without further ado, let's get into the first 2 episodes of Fate the Winx Saga. At the beginning of the first episode, we see Bloom as she arrives to Althea. We don't see her previous life in Gardenia as we do in the first episode of the animated series. Instead, she's right there at Althea right away, and we instead later learn about her backstory in the later episode. So the first character she meets up with is Sky, and Sky sort of tries to come on to her and hit on her, and Bloom really isn't that nice in response. Of course, that can be sort of understanding if a guy is being a bit of a creep, but she does actually seem to like Sky, so I think her reaction is weird. Sky notices that she's very lost and tries to help her, and Bloom asks if he's gonna mansplain it, if he'd be happy to mansplain it, and I guess Bloom's father and does some research on like feminist topics or something, but in the series they sort of try to put in those feminist buzzwords and make it seem feminist somehow by using words, like mansplaining, and they do this in a couple of other places where they just sort of put in weird random buzzwords, and I don't really enjoy that. So Stella, who is supposed to meet up with Bloom, sees Bloom talk to Sky and gets jealous. She's terrible to Bloom. Like right off the bat, she doesn't even try to be nice. She doesn't even try to hide the fact that she's an awful person apparently in this rendition, which isn't true to her original character at all. Stella is vain, and she sort of hurts people by accident somehow because she is so vain and because she doesn't think about other people's feelings, but she's not inherently evil, which is almost something that she becomes because she's so mean in this. So Stella is dismissive and mean and lame to Bloom. She does show her Solaria ring, which allows her to travel between First World, which is the world of humans where Bloom is from, and the world of Otherworld, which has different realms. Stella also mentions that all the other world realms are sort of boring and she doesn't like them. But anyway, Stella shows Bloom her ring, and I actually like the ring. I think the ring is a nice homage to the original series. I like that in the beginning of this series as well as in the beginning of the animated series, the ring is a powerful, important magical artifact that is then lost, and then there's an arc which is completely different from the original Cloudtower arc, but there's an arc where they all try to get Stella's ring back. I really actually like this aspect of the show. And then we meet specialists who are kind of the warriors, who are kind of like trainee warriors of this world. We also meet Riven a bit more. One of my friends said that Riven and Sky are really similar and hard to tell apart, and it's true, not just looks wise, but character wise as well. I feel like Riven is the bigger douche. Riven basically instantly makes a joke about Bloom being crazy, and Sky is like, why would you say that? You haven't even really spoken to her. Oh, but she's a Jinn. They're like that. Amazing shags though. A sex joke. Yeah, that's what we needed. That's what we all wanted, right? No, you didn't want it. Odd. Sky then retaliates by making a masturbation themed joke. It's not even funny. Yeah, like if you have a 16 plus series, really use that opportunity not to make mature plot lines and mature themes. Really use that to just make masturbation jokes. Sarcasm. This is all sarcasm. And we also meet the one female specialist that the writers were so happy about, and saying how this is the revolutionary 21st century series. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then check out my other video, which I made before the series came out. They spoke about this as a really revolutionary thing, but they don't actually give the female specialist any lines. So great, you're making a female character and talking a lot about how there's this female character in the specialist hall, and then you don't give them any lines. So Riven and Sky are the only specialists in this series that are from the original series. There is, I think, Dane, who becomes Flora's love interest. Terra's love interest. I genuinely keep mixing them up. I'm sorry. Terra's love interest. And then this guy who becomes Muse's love interest, but neither of them are from the original series. So back at Alpheadom, we actually meet the rest of the fairies. Okay, so Stella was terrible, but you were expecting the rest of them to be nice, right? Well, first of all, we have Terra, who's an earth fairy who's a cousin of Flora, which honestly was something that surprised me that they actually said that in the series, because I thought they just sort of put that in the promotional materials once they realized how much backlash they were gonna get. But now it's actually in the series. She is actually Flora's cousin. But basically most of her character has to do with the fact that she's plus sized. She's awkward, changing in front of the other girls, and whenever she has a confrontation, which she does with Riven later on, it's about the fact that she's this big girl and you can make fun of her, except you can't because she's actually badass. She tries to make friends with the other girls in a way that makes it very obvious that she's not going to be able to make friends with them. She's not charming though, don't confuse that with charming. She's annoying and awkward and not charming. Then we have Musa, who's Flora's roommate, who's an empath. Not a music fairy, but she has the powers of empathy. You would think that because she can feel the feelings of everyone around her, she's gonna be sympathetic and nice and really gonna be trying to make everyone feel good about themselves, because then she will, as a consequence, also feel better because everyone surrounding her are feeling good and happy. So you're expecting her to be a nice person, right? No, she's actually also awful. She's unfriendly, she's cold, she's just trying to shut everyone out. She sort of excuses herself with the thing that she's constantly overwhelmed by other people's emotions. But if you're constantly gonna be making everyone else feel bad about the fact that you're shutting them off and being unfriendly, then of course you're gonna be surrounded by a lot more negative emotions. And then we have Aisha, who also would be nice, I guess, except she does some really awful things. So Bloom goes to the forest to try and practice her magic. She wants to be alone so she wouldn't be a threat to everyone else, but she loses control of her magic, and Aisha has seen her when she went to the forest. She passed her because Aisha was swimming. So Aisha goes and saves her, and that's all really nice. Then Bloom tells her about the fact that Faragonda, or Farah, told her that she is from a dormant bloodline. And Aisha is like, no, your palace is so powerful that you couldn't possibly be from a dormant bloodline. And she doesn't just hint at the fact that Bloom might not be the daughter of her parents. She doesn't sort of politely and discreetly leave that there as a suggestion, which honestly, even that wouldn't be very nice of her. Like, if you think someone is adopted and you think they don't know, you're not gonna tell them unless you have like no concept of how humans might react to things, or like if you're trying to be terrible to someone. So she tells Bloom that she's a changeling, which means that she was changed at birth. Bloom doesn't believe her and is obviously upset. I mean, you find out someone might be adopted and then you just instantly put it in their face, like no regard for the feelings at all. So yeah, I mean, I realized that Aisha has good intentions at heart, but because she just does that in the like least respectful way possible, I don't really see her as a nice character either. At best, she's a grey character. She seems really genuinely confused about why Bloom is upset, but then she doesn't seem to give Bloom any space or time to come in terms with the fact she sort of keeps pushing on her friendship, and she sort of puts her nose into Bloom's things a bit, and she may have good intentions, but she doesn't act nice either. That covers the Winx girls. We also have Beatrix, who's supposed to be this Trix character, I suppose. She doesn't really come off as much worse than any of the Winx girls, because the Winx girls already have the bar so low. Everyone's sort of in this equal place of being kind of nasty and unpleasant, and as a result, Beatrix doesn't seem that bad as well. She flirts with Riven and they do drugs and stuff. And another thing I really wanted to talk about, everything in this series, all the character interactions are really overdone. Like Stella is supposed to be the meanest, the almost evilest of them all, and she's really, really over the top. If you meet like a real life bully in school, they're never that in your face bitchy. They're never that awful to you in your face. They're usually talking about you behind your back a little too loud. They're making these snide comments that give you an idea of what they think. They're just being cold and unpleasant, but they're not that aggressively mean to you, usually. Also, in this one scene where River makes a guy drink, like forces to drink down his throat. Never seen that happen. And I'm a person who doesn't drink at all. And I've had that peer pressure, like I've felt that peer pressure, but the worst that is people telling me, oh, you should have fun and drink a bit and it's no big deal and you should do it. But people never like physically try and pour a drink down your throat. That doesn't happen regularly at a normal student environment. That is a very extreme thing to happen. Then, as a result, Flora nearly threatens to kill River, which, again, not a normal human interaction to have between students. Really overdone. My favorite character from the entire series is probably Faragonda. She feels most genuine and most nice, and she also feels most completely like a character out of Winx Club. She feels similar to the original character of Faragonda. She's the best adaptation. Bloom is probably the best out of the Winx girls, but really, as I'm watching the series, I'm not so sure how good she is. I also wanted to mention Bloom's parents, and I remember how Bloom's parents were always terrible to her in this series, putting her down, making her feel awful, just being terrible parents. No? Oh, okay, yeah, me neither. But that's what happens in this. Bloom's mother takes away her daughter's right to privacy, her door, and this is what ignites Bloom's powers, what makes her so angry that she burns down their parents' house. And honestly, the way her mother treats her, the way her mother like constantly berates her and puts her down, and it would make me want to burn down a house as well, and not even in a magical way. Like, her mother is awful to her. Her father isn't as openly awful, but she doesn't do anything to protect her daughter from this sometimes even publicly awful behavior, like putting her daughter down publicly. Like, Bloom is on the phone in her dorm. It's obvious that she's on a speakerphone. Her mother seems to know this, and she still talks down about her in front of like other people, while she's trying to make the case that Bloom should make friends and go out and be whatever she wants her to be. I also wanted to talk about the weird reference humor and the relationship of Worst World and Otherworld. As Bloom arrives to Althea, she sees a lot of people taking pictures on Instagram and putting stuff on Instagram, and she even comments on it to Faragonda, and that really confuses me, because earlier on we also established that humans are not supposed to know about the other world, and then you have this implication that we use the same social media platform. How does that work? Like, humans would then eventually find out about the other world. Someone is gonna make a stupid Instagram live and spill the beans, or accidentally make a photo where in the background there's something insane going on, or something like that. How do we have the same social medias? Similarly, there are all these references to Earth literature and Earth cultural things, like there is a reference to Tinkerbell. They're also referencing Harry Potter. Aisha is the one to ask Bloom, hasn't she ever read Harry Potter? Is she like the only person who hasn't? And why is Harry Potter a thing in the other world? Why is it a thing in these other realms? Because I'm pretty certain Harry Potter is an Earth only thing. Why would it be known in other planets and other realms? I get that the Winx fairies are, I suppose, aware of the first world, but what I'm saying is I really don't like this reference humor, because it feels cheap and they just really want to make a reference, and that's all there is to it. It's not thought out, it doesn't work, in my opinion. I mean, in the original series we actually have Bloom tell the girls, hey, let's go get pizza, and they're like, what is pizza? What is pizza? And I feel like pizza is a relatively simple food concept that could in fact exist in other planets. But no, and here in this series we have references to Harry Potter. The main issue I have with this series is the fact that everyone's sort of awful and terrible. Like, remember how in the original series all the Winx girls were terrible to Bloom because she wasn't as good as controlling her powers as they were, and they just constantly put her down and told her that she's useless. Like, this isn't just Stella. Stella seems to put down Ted a lot, but like Aisha several times says that Bloom is pretty much useless. Everyone sort of at each other's throats, even when they're not openly hostile. They still treat each other the way like bullies actually normally in real life would treat people, like with this coldness and distantness and a little bit of whispering and just generally giving off this unkind, mean vibe. So what I hope to see in the future episodes is that the Winx girls at least start to have a better dynamic. So far the dynamic of the girls is terrible. So would this series work as its own series on its own? I mean, I realize the argument that you should look at them as separately, because as a Winx Club adaptation it doesn't really work because it adapts so little and changes so much. It basically changes the characters of all the characters. It's really mid-core. The script writing is, in my opinion, pretty bad. The acting is actually pretty good. The CGI is terrible, like the CGI of the burned ones. They're just showing them as flashes, and so showing them from as far as possible, because the CGI is just cheap, and it looks bad now, and it was made yesterday. Imagine how bad it's gonna be looking in 10 years. These are my initial thoughts regarding the first 2 episodes of the series. If you have enjoyed this video, then please let me know in the comments below. Tell me that if you'd like to see me do a review of the follow-up episodes as well, or if you feel like this already pretty much covered everything. I'm of course gonna be taking into account the fact that whether or not I have stuff to say, but I think I will have stuff to say. So if you wanna see me review the next episodes, please let me know. These are all my personal opinions, so please feel free to argue with them and make arguments and say that I'm wrong. This is just how I feel about the series, and it's not necessarily the right way to feel about it. So I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, you can check out some of my other videos. I talked about this series in the past before it came out, or I have other types of content as well. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye!